Welcome to Performance Anxiety. This week I speak with Erik Sanden. He performs with the bands Buttercup and Demitasse. We talk about the performance art side of playing live. Sometimes it's inspirational, sometimes you get hotboxed. Erik tells me how and why Demitasse grew from Buttercup and which song took over 20 years to record. They have some beautiful videos done by Emmy Award-winning filmmaker Alejandro de Hoyos, and you can find everything at wearebuttercup.com and wearedemitasse.com. Follow us at Performance ANX, and now relax and get ready for the happiest sad music you've ever heard with Erik Sanden.
This is Erik Sanden, and I am of the band Buttercup and the band Demitasse, and you're listening to me speak on Performance Anxiety. Hi.
I wanted to thank you for joining me tonight. This is I really got into this album. I was really interested. It's so different from a lot of what I listen to. It's very unique in that respect.
Right. Yeah, it's acquired taste. It may not be for everyone, but yeah.
Before we get too far into it, I want to know a little bit more about how you got to the point of making that album. So I want to know a little bit more about things like how did you get started in music? What was your first instrument? I mean, were you playing as a kid, or did it take a little longer?
No, I was playing as a kid. I started probably when I was 14 years old and played the 9th grade talent show. And I played with my friend Erik and his father played bass. And his dad was in a rock band that was called Flies on Fire from LA. This was in Glendale, California.
Okay.
And his dad was on Atco Records, had his incredible record. I mean, his dad was really cool to play with us little kids.
Oh, that's awesome.
And to play Wild Thing, it was the only thing that we could play. Blue Suede Shoes. It's awesome.
Oh, that is great.
Yeah. So, I've been playing since well into last century and into this one. And I don't know if it's an evolution or a de-evolution to get to where the Demitasse record is, right?
Yeah.
It's hyper minimal. It sounds sad, but honestly, like someone asked a question, do you in another interview, and they're like, why are all these songs sad? And I was like, are they? And I don't mean that sarcastically. Like, I actually don't really think they fundamentally are. That they are more kind of stubbornly optimistic. But there is this. I mean, it just, to me, I said, like, the analogy was like that recognition of the beauty in life while you're sweeping up the broken glass after whatever that is.
Okay, I like that.
And it's this feeling of these poignant moments in our lives that are imbued with beauty and meaning that sometimes we don't even understand what they really mean. It's kind of unconscious. And I think that a lot of those songs are like that.
That's a great point. And I would definitely agree. Now I want to find out a little bit more about how you got into Buttercup. How did that all progress? Because Demitasse is basically you and Joe Reyes from Buttercup, correct?
Correct. And so Buttercup, is like, if we were to say Buttercup is this life-affirming art rock band, probably in the vein of the Flaming Lips or a band like that, where you have these like bigger kind of semi-psychedelic pieces of music, and then you have this performative part of what we do. And so in Buttercup, we were always challenging ourselves to do these insane performances, like where we did a signature piece we called Audience of One, where we take people one at a time and perform to them in a back room. We'd send somebody out front to DJ, and then it would take all night. I mean, and we would prescribe a song. They would come back and we'd ask a series of incisive questions and have a giant list of songs on the wall that we could choose from. And we would play, and it really, we would play based on what they needed that day. So like music therapy. We called it the song confessional one night. It's all the same thing, but it was the idea was also that it would invert it, because in the other way, if you're a band and you're playing, you're wildly, hopefully wildly outnumbered by the audience.
Yeah, hopefully.
In this case, you are you're outnumbering them, and it puts it in. They almost are uncomfortable at first, because they've not been in a back room with a band,
Yeah.
There's four of them looking at this one person, but we had people cry. It was incredible. Like these kind of really beautiful moments, and some gutsy calls. Like the bass player Odie would come up with I think we need to play this song. And I was thinking we needed to play a cheer up kind of song for this person who's grieving. And he's like, no, let's go right into it. And he was right. Things like that. It's really cool.
That's really innovative. I've never heard of another band doing anything even remotely similar to that. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But
ridiculous is another word for it. Yeah.
Yeah, ridiculous, but awesome. And so we would sit, and you would think that there was probably a lot of pot involved in these brainstorming sessions, but it was more like us just coming up with what would we do? What would we want to see in a performance that would just upend everything? And so, and we had a weekly gig that we called Grackle Monday, and it was in an art gallery in San Antonio, and that's how we started. And so each week, I was adamant about we cannot be doing the same thing every week where we just play the same songs and stand there like a band.
Right.
Even though honestly, some of my favorite things was seeing the same band every week. That certain bands in San Antonio that I grew up on, at least in college, this band, The Infidels, they played every Wednesday, the same set, but it was awesome. And it was just we all went to the Taco Land, to the club, and saw the band, and I watched them. But I didn't want to do that. And so we just made each performance really radically different,
Yeah.
We did things like one night we played all our songs backwards.
Oh my God.
And we wore our clothes backwards.
Oh man.
And so they weren't all just backwards. Some of them were, we learned the way we reversed the tape to hear what the words would sound like backwards, and then learned them that way.
Oh,
so we actually sang the words backwards, but the chord structure was forward.
Oh my
but another one was just thematically, we took a song that was say about female friendship and made it about hatred between men. And we made it backwards from what its core was.
Right.
The music the same. We did everything differently. That's
amazing.
Buttercup. We did a show where we broke and violated every superstition. And
like what? Okay, so give me an example.
Well, the crowd had to come in and walk under a ladder as they entered the club. They had to and as they came in, there's a black cats running in the front across their paths. I spilled an entire thing of salt while playing, and then I smashed a mirror with a hammer, and stuck my feet on my shoes on the table, which is another big no-no in the South. I just did all this crazy stuff, but I think that breaking of the mirror gave us that's why our record Hot Love went in the toilet.
Well, you do enough of those things, one of them is bound to actually be bad.
Yeah, no, Hot Love was a great record, but we really did have some bad luck with a manager, and it was a crazy time that hurt us after this record that I think is our best record. But and then we broke our backs. We put out 3 EPs in 7 months.
Wow.
And that was a period where we were working, and those all just they didn't even really register. I think they did in South Texas, but they didn't go beyond because our manager was stealing from us and not sending them out. Yeah, I found out later. Come on.
So kind of like a local version of pledge music.
Well, now what about pledge music?
Pledge Music was doing the similar thing with the artists, where they were taking all the money from the people pledging and not giving it to the artists, and then things weren't going out. It was
They did that.
Yeah. There's a huge thing. buddy of mine had Kelly Scott from Failure. He got hit.
I remember Failure.
Yeah, they're still around, man. They just put out a new album. Well, they put out one in 2014 and one last year.
Oh, awesome!
And they're working on another one. So there's like a 14-year gap between Fantastic Planet and their one from 2014. But they're back together, putting out all kinds of stuff. But they got nailed for like tens of thousands of dollars. They lost literally about $60,000 from Pledge Music.
Oh, that's heartbreaking.
And nobody got any of the music, at least not the physical copies. See, what they would do is they were releasing their last album as four song EPs, and then once they released the fourth EP, and they were releasing them all digitally. Once the fourth one was released, you would get sent the vinyl or the CD or whatever format you had purchased, and so we got the music digitally, but nobody ever got any physical copies. And
they stole all the money.
Yeah, and Swerve Driver went through the same thing. A whole bunch of bands. There's a big lawsuit. Ken Andrews was going nuts over it, just posting all kinds of stuff about it. It was a huge mess.
Well, I used to love my Failure T-shirt. That was like one of my favorite T-shirts, just to walk around with Failure on my perfect for me at the time.
Same that, and I had the old Sub Pop Loser shirt too.
Yeah, that's great. Very cool.
So, all right. So, how long were you in Buttercup before you and Joe decided that you needed to do something together and create Demitasse? So,
Demitasse happened in 2009 and 10. So, Demitasse is an accident. It is an accidental pregnancy.
Okay.
In every way. And all the albums are an accident, honestly. It started because our drummer was leaving Buttercup in that year, 2009, 2010. We just recorded an album, The Weather Here, produced by our friend Salim Narala up in Dallas.
Okay.
And so we were needing to push this record. My father got very ill, and so I was flying back and forth. He had leukemia, and so we were going. I was coming back into San Antonio and trying to get with the band. I was writing all these songs at that time, and they were all kind of these. They were just sketches, and I wasn't like connecting with the rest of the band. And with the drummer wanting to kind of like leaving at the time, Joe was there and just like, let's record these. And they were demos, and they were done very, very fast, like in and out, where I would be able to be with them for 3-4 hours. And so we would record a song in 3 or 4 hours. So we were eschewing like all the typical things that you would do in recording, like having a metronome, tuning your guitar, thinking about the song in advance, knowing what you're going to play or sing, those kinds of things. And so we did it very quickly, and that became, those recordings sat there, and we lost the drummer, and Buttercup was kind of floundering around for a while. But we continued to work, but we had this whole recording done, and we called it Blue Medicine, and we put it out in 2014. So it just sat there. And it was not intended to be anything. And I said, this is something of its own. And so we called it Demitasse, which means half of a cup. Mm-hmm. There's a half of Buttercup.
Oh, okay.
And, and I thought, okay, that's what that is. And we put it out because we were urged by some of my friends who had heard it that just said, this is one of the best things you've done. It's beautiful. It's its own thing. Put it out. And so we did that. And then the following couple of records happened because like our bass player was on tour for extended time he plays with a lot of like great bands, with Garrett T. Capps,
cool.
With the Hickoids. And so he's like in Europe or this or there. And then like it would happen at these times where like a bunch of songs would pop out of me or Joe or both of us. And so we just recorded. And so the next 2 records are also accidents. Like, the one that happened, this Perfect Life record was recorded in a month, and it was done real fast the same way. Like, I mean, we were probably building up a song in 3-4 hours. There's not much, there's not much to the songs. Like the song would be built up very quickly because I play the guitar and sing while Joe plays the guitar and sings the backup. I mean, we sing together, like, and then we just add things real quickly. Like I go over to the piano and he'll play bass at the same time. And that's more expedient. We'll put on headphones, or we just play it out the speakers. We don't even use, we just use dynamic mics. It doesn't matter. And then, because we have all the bleed doesn't really matter. We do it, monitor kind of quietly and just play. Yeah, we almost never use headphones. And just boom, boom, boom. And then usually at night, I'll start getting mixes at like 4 a.m, 5 a.m. Joe he'll be up all night adding extra stuff, just like, and the song's done by the next morning. And I'm like, wow. And he's such a quick musician and really incredibly competent. So he can layer on top. And it's an interesting challenge because, like the rhythmic stuff, the piano that we use is out of tune. It was at an old honky tonk. And so we have to kind of we tune by ear to that. That kind of gives the record the sound that it has. So, there's these moments like the first song, Flamenco, we recorded that. And I think that's the second take. Probably the first time is me basically showing the song to Joe and fumbling through it. And then the next time we hit it, and he actually messed up. There's like a channel that's open. So there's a lot of hiss on that song, but it's just the way it sounds. And that's what happened.
Flamenco, just like the rest of us, but the crack in the cup lets the dim light through.
And I cried. So I think while it happened and went to tape, I was feeling such emotion, not breaking down crying, but just a little, that little thing that's happening where the eyes are welling up and you're you're getting the crawling feeling up your arms and everything and up the back of your neck. And I was like, this is amazing. And, we just knew we had it and just move on and use this imperfect skeleton. Yeah.
So when you're thinking of music, are you going into the studio with absolutely nothing and then you think, all right, we're going to do Demitasse right now? Or is it it's just an idea that you've had for a while that you work out and with a couple takes in the studio?
Yeah, usually it's probably more of an idea.
Okay.
Now, but some of the songs are really not ready. The song Perfect Life.
What I want, what I need, the same.
I had the idea of a haircut that I had this memory of having a haircut with my father. And I don't know why that kept just bubbling up. We were both sitting in the barber chairs in California, and I remember the sun being perfect. And it wasn't anything special about it. We had probably, dozens of haircuts like that together.
Yeah.
Because he would take me to the barber and we would go, and it was in Glendale, California, it was still somehow in the 1950s and the 1980s,
Yep.
And even though, I was moving towards starting to want to hear punk rock and all this stuff, but there was this, I don't know, just nostalgic feeling. And I came with, just a bunch of scribbled words all over the paper. I had the idea that it was this bluesy chord structure, but had no idea of a melody. And then the song really doesn't have a melody, but I I made it up on the spot. And Joe, was crazy. He played the drums to that live. So he didn't even know how it goes. And I showed it to him once. I didn't know how it goes. And he just said, why don't I play drums? And I was like, really? That's going to bleed all over everything. And he's like, yeah. And he just played the drums. And you can actually hear him. He kind of messes. He doesn't know that I'm going to sing. He starts to come in a little early. And it sounds right to me now. It's just, and it gave it this energy because I have this like vibe of like, we're doing this. So I sang that live and played the acoustic guitar while he played drums. And then we built all the other stuff on top of it, like fast.
God, see, this is why I love doing this show, because I thought this was a really cool album to begin with, but hearing the development of this stuff and what goes on behind the scenes is making it even better.
Cool.
I'm absolutely loving this. So you have a couple of songs here that you dedicated to people. So you have a song for Kurt Cobain and a song for Alex Honnold. Yeah. So how did that come about? Were you, I mean, since they're dedicated to them, technically, Little Blonde Boy is for Kurt and Free Solo for Alex. Did you go into the studio with that kind of a thought in mind, or were you writing it and then say, you know what, this is making me think of these guys?
That's a good question. Both the Little Blonde Boy, the original title was Kurt Cobain, and Alex, the Free Solo, that title was Alex Honnold. And so that's what I had written. So I was totally thinking about those two guys on those songs. And Little Blonde Boy is Kurt Cobain, right? But it's also about me and my own childhood.
Sorry your family was so cruel. Although this song is a formal tragedy, there is an uplift in the penultimate.
But not. I mean, I had lovely parents. I think Kurt Cobain. I don't know. Have you seen Montage of Heck? That
no, not yet. I've heard so many differing opinions on that.
It's incredible. It's tough to watch, but his journals are animated. It is. It's incredible. Hats off to Courtney Love for opening up her storage space with all of Kurt's stuff and his effects and his demo tapes and saying, like, do what you want with it. All the videotape, just make what you're going to make. You're an artist. And that documentarian, I think he's a French guy, came in and just made this incredible piece. But in it, I might be a little harsh to his family in that song, but there is a sense that I don't feel like he was, as a child, was paid enough attention to. I'm going to put it lightly.
Yeah.
But it's this gnawing feeling that you feel. I felt like he was failed. And I liked Kurt Cobain so much. I just, when Failure was out, I was probably like 19. And that's when like all that was happening, right? Like the Sub Pop stuff. And so I remember at that time I was in college in San Antonio, and Kurt Cobain was exploding, and I had the Bleach record, and I just listened to that over and over and really admired him. And then he came and played the Liberty Lunch in Austin, and I went and after the show he smashed his amp and he ran backstage, and my band had actually played the Liberty Lunch before, my band from college. And so I knew that spot. We'd done a tour already opening for the Tragically Hip. And so we got to play the Liberty Lunch, which was way out of our like normal thing, but the Hip did it. And so I kind of knew what the place was. So I just jumped up on the stage and ran to the backstage like I belonged there. Yeah. And I just wanted to like go like, I was a kid. I was just like, I'm going to go say hey to Kurt. Yeah. And I had written a song called before that called I'm Not Old Enough to Die Tonight for him, I said, but I didn't write it for him. Okay. My band Evergreen. Okay, I wrote a song. I think it'd be good for you. And he was alone in the green room. But it was like a dream. It was just me and him. He was sitting there holding his stomach, and he was tired, and he was so patient with me. And I told him about the song. And he's like, I'd like to hear it. And he's like, can you play it? And I was like, yeah. And all his guitars are left-handed. I couldn't do that. So I played it on one of the bass player's basses. I played a country song on the bass while trying to sing. It was awful. It was super embarrassing, but I was like, I don't know. At that time, I was fearless. I just, whatever. And then he's like, look. And then I was like fumbling around. It's like, man, I'm messing up. And he's like, it's okay. It's okay. He's like, I'll tell you what, mail it to me, man. Record it on. He's like, well, did you write it? Like read music? I'm like, dude, I can't read music. And he's like, good, me neither. And then he said, and he gave me an address and he said, mail it to me. And of course I never did.
Oh, wow.
But I would if it was me now. I send letters all the time now, but at the time I was just a kid. And I was a kid with long hair that looked I cut it to look just like Kurt. I was really into that. So he was one of my heroes. So that song is kind of for him.
Okay.
And totally for him. And just like how, I still listen to his songs when they come on and I think like, man, he could write.
Yeah.
And his melodies, like so good. He's so funny.
Yeah. Yeah. It was weird. I had Bruce Pavitt on a while back now, and he was talking about touring with him in Europe, like his first big European tour. He was hilarious. He said it was great. It was so much fun. So it's a side of him that I don't think a lot of people realize. They just see the brooding guy who hated being a star.
Right. And there was that, but man, he was fun. I mean, like so I have a copy of his journals and they're just so laugh out loud funny when he has he's studying for his driver's test, to get his first driver's license, and like how thorough he was writing all the stop signs and the different kinds of signs and road rules. And but there's this cheeky style. It's really, really, really funny. See Montage of Heck, Mark. I think you'll really like that. Yeah, it's cool.
All right. So what's the connection with Alex?
So I was my ex-girlfriend a while back made me watch a bunch of Alex Honnold YouTube videos.
Okay.
But before the Free Solo movie came out, and they're just terrifying. Like I had a whole night of like just drinking wine heavily as she's putting on YouTube video after another. And I'm thinking like, this guy's gonna die.
Yeah.
And so there is maybe a similarity with like Kurt, because like you see this Kurt Cobain thing that like it felt like this could self-destruct, right? And then there's this thing with Alex Honnold. There's a death wish there for sure. It's apparent. But so I was thinking about that kind of danger. But the song somewhere, as I was writing the lyrics, I try not to sometimes be too conscious about it. And this was one of those cases where I think it just took a left turn and it started being about my own teenage sexuality, and I just let it rip.
I love girls' breasts. I love rock and
roll. So there's all this stuff. I think he's very kind of like, I think he's a fairly kind of like normal kid, aside from this compulsion to be right next to the death. To just be up there without a rope. And I think that's fascinating. But then I don't know, I got obsessed with like the sexual feeling of teenagehood. I don't know why, as I was thinking about being young. So I went this other place, but it's probably more about me than it is about Alex Honnold. But it felt like it captured this feeling of like being like free, Okay. And I feel like being untethered, and I'm not sure exactly what that means, but like I know he's literally untethered, but I like this idea of being either emotionally or like saying this that teenage feeling. I don't know how to describe it otherwise. Yeah.
Do you guys play out a lot? Play live as Demitasse very often?
We do. It's a functional thing. So like when Buttercup can't get the whole band together, or we can't. And we've been using this drummer, Claire Rousset, she's an amazing drummer from San Antonio, or Jason Garner, who plays with the Polyphonic Spree, comes down and plays with us. It's usually one of those two. But if we can't get the drummer, or we can't get Odie, our bass player, because he's the rock of that band.
Right.
And without that, then we just say, well, we could do it as Demitasse.
Okay.
And it's, very easy because we often perform just 2 acoustic guitars, 2 vocal mics. That's it.
Wow.
Just super raw. So we don't do it. Yeah. But we did, we played a record release show here in San Antonio. It's unfortunate because we actually did have a bunch of South by Demitasse shows. And the whole everything's canceled. So with the promotion, the tour, all the stuff that we were going to do for this record is all on hold as we hunker down.
Are you guys going to do any live streams?
Yes, we have plans to do that. I mean, awesome. So I think I might have coronavirus. I mean, honestly.
Yeah. My wife actually had to get tested for it last week.
Yeah.
So we're in quarantine right now. So that's what I'm hunkered down and I got nothing but time on my hands.
Yeah. I mean, I don't, it's not bad symptoms right now, but they are worrisome. So I don't want to be near Joe. I don't want to be near Odie I have been completely the only person is my girlfriend and I in this house.
Yep.
And so
that's good because I know my wife was presenting with some symptoms, so we went to see her doctor, and her doctor's like, I think you might have it. So she got the swab up her nose, and the doctor said, you know what? If she's got it, if we think we have it, both of you just get quarantined. And so we're sitting in our house. Fortunately, our kids are all teenagers, so they can take care of themselves. But we're kind of holed up in our room for 2 weeks.
Where are you, Mark?
I'm in Winchester, Virginia, just about 75 miles west of D.C.
Okay.
Home of Patsy Cline.
Yeah. Awesome. Winchester.
Yeah. It's a great town. I love Winchester.
Wow.
Yeah.
I used to live in Alexandria, Virginia.
I know exactly what it is.
And I was born in Bethesda, Maryland.
Oh, really?
So I've lived in that area and I lived in Virginia Beach. So there's 4 or 5 times that I was in that area. My dad was military back and forth.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yes. So did you ever end up down to Newport News area?
Man, I was 8. But the oldest I was when we finally left Alexandria. We came back to sell the house. We'd gone to South Carolina, Connecticut, and then New York, and then I ended up out in LA.
Yeah,
high school.
I lived down in my dad was military, and I was born on Fort Hood, and then we moved. He PCS'd out after Vietnam, and we moved to New Jersey, then down to Virginia. Then back up, Virginia, then back up to New Jersey. Then I went to upper state New York for college, went to RIT, back to New Jersey, then down to Alabama, then back up to Virginia.
Wow.
I think that's everything.
That's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. But we used to go to Alexandria all the time. I can't afford to live anywhere close to Alexandria right now, but it's a beautiful area. I do have friends that work for the government that live in Alexandria. So apparently I did something wrong.
Well, yeah.
I didn't get one of those awesome government jobs.
Yeah, I think at the time it was much more at least where I was in Alexandria, it was just if my family could do it on that Navy, it was I remember nothing super special, but it was, I remember Charles Barrett, I think was the elementary school that I went to.
Oh, gosh.
And I remember walking out. I've looked it up once on Google Maps to see it seemed like this endless walk. It's literally right around the corner. I just go through this yard.
I did the same thing when we first moved back up here from Alabama. I said, well, I'll go find my old house. We found the old house. Let's go find my old school. And I went to this one school. They've changed it up now. It's the same school. It's an old building. And, they closed the school. They did kindergarten through, I think, 2nd grade in one school. Then you went to a different school. And then they closed that kindergarten through 2nd and opened up a whole nother school. And I remember my brother having to go to that school. And it felt like such a long bus ride to go get him and then go to my school. And then when we came back up and visited, it was literally a quarter of a mile.
Wow.
It was ridiculous. They're so close.
Yeah, in childhood too, it's like I think our sense of time as children is so different.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's summer is endless, and I think part of it is you're so in the moment all the time. You're like a dog, like you're just there.
I think you're right. Because if you think about it, when you're a kid, it took forever to get from Halloween to Thanksgiving to Christmas, and now it's just like, oh my gosh, I've only got 4 weeks till Christmas.
I know. You're like, next thing I know, I'm going to be retired and getting like AARP magazines. It's
I
like
get those. I don't know. I'm 46 and I get those.
Hey, you're on your way, buddy. Hold on one second.
Yeah, sure.
I'm going to turn this light on. But yeah. So yeah, I'm just trying to get a little more light going.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What I wanted to just venture out, Mark, is I was just thinking, like, everybody's quarantined right now. We have a song, Leave the House, with a great video about being stuck in the house.
Oh, really?
That we put on for the last record, and I really think it is the new national anthem.
Sometimes you just don't wanna leave the house. Something you just feel in your bones. The ghost.
I like that.
So you should check out our YouTube video for Demitasse, Leave the House.
Oh, wow.
And it's all filmed in my house.
Oh, really?
You can see, yes.
That's awesome.
And it's just my crazy. I mean, it started with an idea that I had that I would be pushing Joe around in a wheelchair around in the house. That was my whole vision.
I saw that yesterday. I was doing the research. I saw that yesterday, and it ends up with him. You go have a party in the little courtyard.
Yeah, we just go outside, and there's all these people, and we're like,
yeah. And he gets up out of the wheelchair, and just walks in.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought that was great.
Yeah. So Leave the House. I think that's kind of a special song for this time.
I think you're right.
I like that. It's more about the agoraphobics who can't get up the will to leave, which is usually our fan base, I think.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be the entire country at this point.
Right.
All right. So you were talking about another interview. Somebody had said that the songs were kind of sad, and I was thinking about that as I was listening, and I definitely can see that viewpoint that they're sad, but not in a pitiful or angry type of way. There's definitely hope in all the songs. It kind of, and I wrote this down so that I don't forget it. But to me, it sounds like you're accepting and maybe embracing whatever that sorrow is, and understanding that it's not permanent.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's you're going to be on the floor for a while.
Yeah,
but you can get back up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the exact feeling that I'm getting from the entire album almost. I mean, and not all the songs are sad. Like the song, Free Solo is not a sad sounding song.
No, hell no.
So, yeah,
that's just rock and roll.
Yeah,
I mean, I get to literally yell rock and roll.
Yeah.
That's could be a foreigner song or something.
Yeah, but, exactly. But I'll tell you, my two favorites on the album are Hope in the Dark and Coming Out Wrong Again.
Oh, yeah.
And they kind of sound like they could be off a Jackson C. Frank album. Which,
yeah.
Who I love. And musically, I hear maybe a little bit of influence, just musically, really, of a Nick Drake.
Oh, totally. So those are coming out of Joe Reyes' brain. Wow. And let me tell you about Coming Out Wrong Again. He wrote that song 23 years ago.
The screen inside will make no sound. It's coming out wrong again. It's coming out wrong again. It's coming out wrong. My feelings pound into a fist because you don't know I exist.
And so, yes, and that song has been kicking around, and it was honestly, it's a chord monster. It's like a Burt Bacharach type chord progression that and there are a lot of jazz chords that are built into that song. So like something like Bacharach, Amy Mann, or something, this Nick Drake would be a great example too. His song, some of his songs are actually like Cruel to Be Kind is tough to play. It's actually like, it's a chord monster. And, that song is particularly one, it was beyond the abilities of Buttercup at the time. We wanted to do the song, but we would just kill it every time. And, and it wasn't Joe doing that. I mean, he knew the song inside and out, but the rest of us would just mess it up. And it seemed wrong to play that song. It needed to be done right. And so it's kind of sat there, and there have been a couple of times where we thought, like, let's put this on a Buttercup record. Let's do this. And I just pushed this album. I was like, that song would fit. Let's do it now. And we did it fast. He actually had to drop the key from where he had played it originally, 25 years ago. Okay. So we played it, it's in B flat. So for me to learn that actually took me like a week to learn it on the piano because all the chords are weird chords.
Well, it's beautiful. It's one of my favorite songs on the album. I absolutely love it.
I did too. And he sang it. He was actually kind of sick. If you hear his voice is kind of cracking, it's really intimate. And that's just how it is. I love it. And I love that one.
And like you mentioned, flamenco is just it's a great opener. I love that. It's a wonderful. Now, you've done a lot of stuff through Kickstarter.
Yeah, on this record we did that. Yeah. How
was that experience for you?
It was so good. We did, of course we do a Kickstarter like when crowdfunding is dead. Like we decide to do this years later, but it just. We've had a patron in San Antonio that has put out the last 3 albums, the last Buttercup record, Battle of Flowers in 2017. And then they put out the 2014 Demitasse record, the first one, Blue Medicine. And then they put out Power Couple. And we just didn't feel like that they should have to shoulder the burden of putting out another record, or didn't feel comfortable at asking. They probably would have just said yes. But, we went ahead and did this Kickstarter, and it was amazing. It was great. And so we got all this, we got more money than we had asked for.
Yeah, I saw that.
We were able to like make the record, make a beautiful record. Make it on vinyl, and then have some little, CDs, and then also make videos. We made a video for Flamenco, that we did Fast and Furious. We actually recorded it at the, at Public Access Television Studios. It's in City Hall. Cool. They have like a $20 million studio in there. It's crazy. Jeez. And it's incredible. But anyway, you can just sign up and use it. So we're going to do Buttervision, where we do a
I love that name.
Television, a psychedelic variety show on Public Access. And so we released Flamenco, actually came out first on Public Access Television. That was the world release. Okay. And then we just put it on the internet. But that, we're going to do another video for the, we'll probably do, next, I think the Little Blonde Boy song. We have a whole
nice.
Cause it's got that kind of like South Texas-y, Tex-Mex kind of, ripping flamenco guitar on it.
Yeah.
And so we've got a whole like cowboy thing we're going to do, like vaquero.
Is, Alejandro de Hoyos going to be doing that as well?
Yeah, he's going to help us do that. We're going to go out to Comfort, Texas, but we have to get out of this whole quarantine first. But once that happens, we're going to make a pretty cool, fun video.
How did you hook up with him? Because he's won Emmys, hasn't he?
He has, and he's been he's the documentarian that we needed all along.
That's awesome.
And he actually, the first thing that Buttercup ever put out was a DVD. It was a document of a performance we did, an art piece where we put 4 television monitors in the bottoms of 4 55-gallon oil drums. So they were like these oil drums. And so the crowd came, one of those Crackle Monday performances, expecting to see the band on a stage that we had built, and all the place is completely empty. Everything's removed, and there's just 4 trash cans in the middle of the room. And each trash can in the bottom is a television monitor facing up. And then as they walked around, it was a cold cold San Antonio day, like near freezing maybe.
Wow.
Like 30 degrees or something. So everybody's this is like an old warehouse. So there's, excuse me, they're looking down in these barrels with their breath coming out and the light shining up, and each monitor, though they looked like homeless people gathered around looking down into the burning like cans.
Yeah.
And each barrel had a television monitor. Each one had one of our faces on it. So one had mine, one had Odie's, one had Joe Reyes, and one had Jamie Rodman, the drummer. And then we performed and we played songs, and they could hear us. And there were speakers in the room, but they couldn't see us except if they looked down in the barrels. Oh, wow. And we were running live feeds. We were actually up in a loft in this it was an old grocery store.
Okay.
And we had put a scrim in front of us with a bunch of lights so that eventually people started to figure out, like, I think they're up there.
Yeah.
We were actually in the room with them, but we were kind of hidden. And so we did a DVD, that was our first thing. Before we made a record or anything, we did this performance. We were out there. Awesome. And so, because we were so heavy into the performance. So Alejandro de Hoyos was they went to a film festival somewhere, and he had something that he had put into that film festival.
Okay.
I think it was called like the Golden Shower Film Festival or something like that. And very important, prestigious, and family friendly.
Yeah, I see that.
And he had something
sponsored
there.
by Vivid Video.
Yeah, exactly. And so he had some piece and there, and he saw ours. And he was like, he became a fan that day. And then, he was running with the San Antonio Spurs, like the basketball team, like their documentarian for a long time, like the chief camera guy. Okay. And he still does some work for them here and there. And so like, he was very busy, and when we run into each other once every 5-6 years, he'd be like, I'm going to make a video for you. Yeah, cool. And then I ran into him once again, and I was like, we were doing that, and he did the Leave the House video. I said, what do we do this video? And he's like, do you want to do it tomorrow? And I said, let's do it tomorrow.
Hey, why not?
I've got an idea. We can do it all in my house. And he's like, perfect. I'm like, we just need a wheelchair. And he said, I got one. And yeah,
I got one of those.
And then I realized that, so we talked about like our workflow in Demitasse and in Buttercup is very, very fast. Like when we record a song, we like to there's different ways that bands will do it. Like I think Radiohead probably builds it and gets it perfect. It sounds like there's not a thing that's out, and it's wonderful. And that's the way they record. And we do not do that. We do like more like the Neil Young snapshot version. It's a Polaroid. You take, that's what happened. And so then it reveals all the flaws, and you're stuck with some of those things. And those choices are just there, and you just move on. I mean, it's not 100% there. We're not recording into a like wax that's burning live. We're not
right.
We'll overdub things. We do all that stuff, but it's in general, we do it very, very fast. Alejandro is the only person I know that's faster than us.
Really?
It's like we recorded that first half of that Leave the House video. So it's two pieces you noticed, like the inside during the day and the outside at night.
Yes.
That was all done in one day. And we did it in the morning. We did the morning piece by noon because we wanted to get the morning light.
Yeah.
And he was running around like spraying like fake fog out of a can from like Party City, and he captured this light, and I went down to take a nap because it was early morning for me. And Joe did the same. He went home, and he said by 7 p.m. I'd invited my accountant and my friends and all these people to come to the house to have a party. Whoever gets to be in the video, like Gary Sweeney, the artist, is in it. All these like cool people showed up. A couple musicians. But by 7 p.m., by like 5, I get a message from him, Alejandro, and he had the rough cut of the whole front of the end of the video was done.
Oh my God.
It was perfect. And he was so fast. He just went and started editing.
Wow.
And he says that he works that way on purpose, that he, because when you take so many takes and safety takes and all these things, like with making a film.
Yeah.
That he and rather than take notes of like what this is, that is, he can remember for about 24 hours everything.
Wow.
And so he can just go and think, it was the second take of this one, it was the third take of, and but he has to do it then, otherwise it's gone, and he'll have to go through hours and hours of watching pieces over and over and writing notes.
Yeah. This
one, that one, which I've seen, that's how most people work.
Yeah.
But so he does this other thing, and he's also crazy and just doesn't sleep. So he gets these really fast pieces. And so I think his workflow with ours works great, and we can both go very, very fast.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, flamenco was done in a few, we did the filming of it in a few hours. He had it edited by the evening.
Man, that is incredible.
I gave him some notes that night, like, I think this, but I generally trust him. He changed a couple things.
Wow.
And it was done.
That's amazing. It's good work. It's not like it's shoddy. It's just quick to get it done. It's the quality is beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, I think the fundamental truth is you're going to make the same decision. It's just like, are you going to just belabor the decision, or are you just going to make it? I mean, I feel like it's almost like the military guys. Richard Feynman, I was reading Richard Feynman, the physicist, talking about work on the atom bomb. He's like, I got some respect for these military guys, because they just they get the information. They're like, okay, this is the positives, the negatives. Okay, well, let's not invade, or let's invade, or whatever they have to do. Yeah. They have to make the decision. They're just like, okay. You're going to make the decision eventually, and we agonize over it. And so he was like, the stakes are much lower. No one's going to get killed by like whether we put in the first shot or the second shot, or if we use the slow version of the song or the faster version.
Right.
Just pick. It's better that you just don't think. Yeah. The more you think, the more you stink. To quote Neil Young.
That's true. That's great. Make the decision and move on to the next one.
Right. Yeah. And then you're trapped. You're boxed in. Go on. Move on. Let it go.
It'll help you make the next decision.
Yeah. And I'm not going to sit around listening to my own records over and over anyway.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. So, let your fans do that.
Sure. Yeah.
So
they can suffer through those bad decisions.
Yeah. You mentioned doing shows as art pieces and all. When you do that, is that something that's not? I mean, you guys obviously plan it ahead of time, but when somebody comes to see a Buttercup show, are they aware that it's going to be a performance show, or if it's going to be just a regular show? Is there any clue ahead of time?
If they've seen us before, or they've heard the word on the street, they know something's up and something's going to happen. They don't know what it is. I mean, we did a show in November for the Day of the Dead, November 1st. And so in San Antonio, there's a big production. So I died on stage, and Odie, he resurrected me with some, he took two power sanders and made them look like defibrillating paddles. He tied them to with curly cords to a laptop, and he acted the whole thing out. I mean, it was ridiculous. It looked like something that King Crimson would do or something, So, and it was a big stage in this big, there was a big festival. So it was fun. And the lighting was excellent, and the stage crew kind of knew what was going on. So we did this whole piece, and they put all the fog at that time and stuff. It was cool, but it was ridiculous. I died, and then came back.
Have you guys ever had something that you thought was just too far, and you're like, well, we can't do that?
Yeah. I mean, and we've done things that we think, well, we're never going to do that again. But I mean, we did a show in Austin, at a theater in Austin, where I was in a box, a cardboard box,
okay.
and then the band came out first, and Odie played for a while, and then sang, and then Joe sang for a while, and then they went off and they pushed me out off on a skateboard or something in a big box, and I was in the box for a long time.
Okay.
And I was in there slowly poking holes, and then things were coming out of the box. I was throwing things, and then they put a microphone in there, and I sang some songs inside the box, and I had the smart idea of lighting up, and I wanted to blow smoke out of the box.
Okay.
And so I got hotboxed in that thing. It just was all trapped. And I've never been so high in my life. and it was just insane. So I came out and we were at this theater. So I had grabbed like the clothes that were like behind the stage. You know, they had like, so I had this like sequin dress on with like these big reflective glasses. And there was like this like just crazy white lighting on, and I was all reflective, and I couldn't move. I couldn't even feel my hands or my feet, you know? And I just sat there like just staring, and the guys were like waiting for me to sing. I mean, that was rough, but yeah, that was an idea that went south, you know?
That's cool. That would have been an amazing show to be at, though.
Yeah, it was. And you know, I remember like, there were a couple people there. The guys from Ghostland Observatory were there. And so was, the guys from Fastball were there. And
oh, cool.
And so, like, we had some cool, like, friends there and, like, badass bands, and I couldn't fucking move. I couldn't open my mouth. I just stared at them. It was bad.
That's amazing.
Yeah. That was us. That was us at our prime. But so, you know, we have, like, I love that the band has always been like Odie, Joe are these incredible, like, and myself included, we're like, I feel like we're these one single-minded soldiers. And actually, you know, we made a rule. It's based on the Beatles. After Jamie left the band, we thought about it and we said, like, we're not going to do anything ever again unless we have a unanimous vote. And not like majority rules. Like, we all have to be completely behind it. It makes perfect sense. Yeah. But I think before Jamie left, that was a mistake, because we would do a majority vote, and that like that can breed dissent. Yeah. You know, you get 3 people vote yes, one person's not comfortable with it, and we make them do it. Yeah. You know, and it's like, yeah. So we all, and the thing is that like there's been stuff where like somebody's not comfortable for some ethical reason or something. Like, I don't want to do that. I don't think that's, and then usually we all kind of like figure that out as a one mind. But in general, it's like it feels like a band of yes. Both Buttercup, Demitasse. I mean, Demitasse, we've been performing. It's all of Buttercup that's playing. You know, when we do full band shows, it's Buttercup. Right. It's Claire on drums. It's Odie on bass. And we've been using this guy Chris Madden, who's been playing with both bands on keys, and it's just like so fun. And the only, you know, the difference is that in Demitasse we wear a suit, you know, I mean, like, and we're maybe a little bit more restrained. Yeah. But
it makes me want to come see a Buttercup show.
Oh yeah, I want you to.
That would be amazing. If I can ever get down to San Antonio, I would definitely. Yeah. Do you guys ever play outside the area?
We don't tour much anymore, but we you know, the last time that we did a West Coast tour. But we need to come out to Virginia.
That'd be awesome, man.
You know, I mean, Demitasse, we came out to New York and Connecticut, and
DC's got some great places to play.
Yeah, I know.
And they're really open to you know, artistic bands.
I know. We need to come out there.
That would be amazing. I mean, I'll bring my camera. I may not be Alejandro de Hoyos, but I'm a pretty good photographer. Went to college for it. So.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, take some pictures. Show us what you've got.
Look, man, I've kept you for about an hour, man. I'll let you have the rest of your night, but I wanted to thank you so much for spending some time with me. Tell me some of the behind-the-scenes stories of Demitasse, because it's just such a cool album, and it makes it, knowing the stories behind the songs makes it even better to me.
Cool, man. I'm glad that we were able to have that time.
Where can people find the album? Where can they follow you guys on social media for both bands?
Okay, so it's wearebuttercup.com. Okay. Be the best way to stay in touch with us. And if you sign up, like, you know, subscribe to the email, that's probably the best way we can get in contact with you. Cool. And there's wearedemitasse.com is the other website. They're both connected. Okay. And either way, you'll find us there. But that's the easiest, wearedemitasse.com.
And that'll have links to your social media accounts on the website?
Yeah, all of that stuff. So you'll find us on Instagram and all that other stuff.
Awesome. Well, man, I recommend everybody check this album out, because no matter what you're listening to, it's a little bit different. And it's a fantastic change from whatever the hell you're listening to, because of the rawness to it. I absolutely love it.
Well, thank you. I think for sure it sounds like us. And so, what other choice do we have? Because that's who we are.
Exactly. Man, well, thank you so much for your time, man. I really do appreciate you spending so much time with me this evening.
Oh, I had a blast, man. It was a fun conversation. I need it, man. I'm holed up all alone.
Yeah, I'm holed up. My wife is laying down behind me right now. I recorded in my room, so in our which is now our sick room. So
yeah, I hope she feels better.
Thanks, man.
I hope. Yeah, it's just. I mean, I'm feeling weird. There's these weird things happening. It's the cough.
Well, I'm hoping you're okay.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I hope. I just don't want to spread it to anybody.
Yeah, tell me about it. No.
When we pit ourselves against the black, then swords and plowshares just won't hack. We've gotta seize the day and go fight the war, 'cause just to live's not given anymore. But I don't believe the dark will ever win. But I don't believe that we are giving in. When we fill our minds with plastic dreams, ignoring stars and real moonbeams, the golden egg that eased our lives was venom that could paralyze. But I don't believe the dark will ever win. No, I don't believe that we are giving in. No, I don't believe the dark will ever win. But I do believe, I do.